maybe we shouldn't be so committed to democracy. I'm following up with my teaser from the weekend to start a short series talking about the possible effects of AI on democracy. But I'm kind of starting with the part zero, and that is, why am I so much of an advocate for democracy? In some ways, I shouldn't be. The subtitle of one of my textbooks on inequality in America is Race, Poverty, and Fulfilling Democracy's Promise. That book, by the way, will be out in its 4th edition next year. And it's a fair question to ask then, for someone like me who's frustrated with the slow pace of democracy, extending of liberty to all persons, full rights, full citizenship. Why am I so optimistic that democracy is the way to get us there? The real irony of the slide into authoritarianism that we've seen is that it's coming from people who have benefited from the very slow pace of democratization in the United States. It's that famous phrase about the arc of the moral universe being long but bending toward justice. The folks who were supportive of the move toward authoritarianism and away from democracy were certainly happy with the long part. But as we get closer to realizing justice, that's when it started to become uncomfortable. And that's when folks started to wonder whether democracy is the right choice. But really, it should be those of us who have been clamoring for more rights, for more equality, who should have given up on democracy perhaps a long time ago. An authoritarian state, for instance, that maintained the type of worldview that I have would be more desirable than living in a country where so often my preferences are thwarted because elections are lost or because systems constrain. So let's get rid of it, right? And I think about that a lot. But when I was in Williamsburg last week, we had the opportunity to interact with Thomas Jefferson. I don't think you're not supposed to call them impersonators. He's not really impersonating. He's embodying Jefferson. It's a historian, someone very well read in Jefferson, studied in Jefferson, but embodies Jefferson, with the outfit, the whole bit. And that was really fascinating on a number of levels, because he's in a room and later sitting at a table with a bunch of academics, lawyers, tech people, government folks. We all had hard questions for him. We asked him about slavery and his views. We asked him about Sally Hemings. We asked him a lot of difficult things. And he had some really astute answers. And I'm not going to give them away because it's sort of his thing. But I just want to point out the answers he gave are not the answers Jefferson might have given in the 18th century necessarily. He's embodying Jefferson as if Jefferson is aware of what has happened since his death. It's a very interesting perspective. And it's a fine line to walk. But it keeps us thinking about what the promise of democracy was, even for folks who certainly didn't live those ideals. And I think what keeps me coming back to democracy is the notion of people. The true belief that people should be governing collectively through representatives in a republic, etc., but it should be the people. And I believe that because I think the arguments that I hold, that I put forward, the arguments about moving toward greater equality, are arguments that are winnable, that people are persuadable, that when we make systems visible, we can dismantle them. I think that can happen through democracy. It is slow, and that's problematic. And there is a tendency to move toward a notion of authoritarianism if you feel like your progress isn't happening fast enough. And I think for folks who are supportive of this regime, which is increasingly authoritarian, it's because they feel threatened because of the pressure toward more equality and what they might lose as a result.